Well, hello everyone. Welcome to this sub-series of the Share the Wealth show called Microfamily Millionaire. And this is where I'm going to be sharing small snippets of my journey into becoming a millionaire through small multifamily. And the first place I want to start is picking a market. So a lot of times I have conversations with investors who are newer than I am, and they will say, "Oh, I invest across the country in multiple markets in XYZ area." And it screams newbie to anybody who's seen anything around real estate and investing, especially in multifamily. Because what you really should do, and seasoned investors do this, they are very focused on a particular market because they are digging deep. You need to know who the players are in the market. You need to know the best property management companies. You need to know what brokers are closing most of the deals. You need to know certain street intersections and where to stay away from, and who's good property management, and just all these other, like, who's the lender in the area that a lot of the good property management know and the brokers know and gets deals closed, right? So you cannot know the level of detail and the players in the field in a particular market if you are focused on way too many markets. If you say you're doing country nationwide, it's not possible. It's not possible to know everything you need to know about a market in order to be effective in that market. So what you want to do is you want to pick one market to start, two max. And this is just to start. Once you get more experience, once you have more deals under your belt, then you can expand and go into other markets. But it makes sense to get to know one market in particular very well. So I'll tell you a quick story first about when I first got started. I got that advice from my mentor, and so I started looking for markets that were close to me and I would get to, and I could actually show my face in. And I know you don't have to invest or live where your market is, but when you're first starting out, if you don't have boots on the ground, then you need to be able to get to that market. Because if you need to walk properties with the brokers, and you need to see the owners, you need to shake hands, you need to go to meetups, you need to meet the other investors in the area, and you can only do that being there or being able to get there. Now, a lot more things are virtual because, of the whole era that we just went through in the pandemic. But nothing kind of still escapes that one-on-one interaction and getting to know people in person. So when I first started, it was literally the winter before the pandemic started. So I was going out into my market, and I picked a market that was 2 hours driving away, that was a good area, so that I could get there and I could view properties and I could meet brokers and I could meet property management companies and I could meet all these people in person and meet other players who were in and active in the market. So what happened was when COVID hit, I actually started just being on phone calls with so many different investors in my own mentorship group that I had joined, and just being out there and posting about my journey. And so I ended up getting on a phone call with a gentleman who was in the same market as I was, and he was already investing there. And we had a few conversations. One of the conversations, we were talking about players in the field and talk about property management specifically. And I was asking him some questions because I had been asking property management companies of certain metrics about the market, and almost everyone kind of kept saying it depends. And we weren't getting solid answers, right? Except for one property management company that actually could kind of answer our questions. And so I just remembered them, and I remembered that that was one that I wanted to go back to and revisit whenever I did close on a property. So when I'm talking to this gentleman, and he mentioned his property management company, but he didn't want to say, he had mentioned something that he loved about them, but he didn't mention the name, right? Because he didn't want them to be, I guess, overwhelmed with, not overwhelmed, but like take on too many clients and get too busy, I guess. But I guess the property management company's name. And guess what? He said, "What, you know about that property management company?" And so that kind of broke down a wall. And so the reason that happened was because I was able to be focused dig into one market, make phone calls, introduce myself, and start having conversations and asking questions and knowing what's going on in the market and seeing trends that were happening with property types and what they were listed at and what the age of the properties and what the make normally was. And so I was just getting much more familiar with what product type was even available in that market. And because of those conversations, and I was able to relay what I had seen and mention players in the area to him, we ended up partnering on my first two deals, right? And so it came because we still had the same kind of investment strategy and philosophy, but because I was knowledgeable in the market and I didn't look or feel like a tire kicker to him, and I didn't look like a newbie because I was knowledgeable, right? So even though he knew that I was new to the area, new to multifamily commercial assets, but it didn't feel that way because I seemed serious because I knew what to ask. I knew I had been looking at that market in depth. All of that to say, you can't get that level of detail if your market is national. Okay, so let's focus on one market. Now, how do you pick this market? I'll cover this super quick. One, think about likability and feasibility. So, one, is it an area that you like to go, that you like to visit on a regular basis? Do you have family or friends there, right? Do you have a reason to go there? And then two, is it feasible for you to get to? How far are you willing to travel? Are you able to travel? Do you have a family? Do you have kids? Do you have a job that is not flexible? Do you have to be in person or are you working from home? All of those are criteria with how easy it is for you to get to a market. If a broker calls you and says, hey, you want to come see this property? I'm going to list it in like 2 days, but I'll give you first dibs to come see the property. I'm showing a few people. If you can't get there, you're going to miss out to the people who are local or who have boots on the ground. Right. So when you're new and you don't have boots on the ground, pick some place that you can get to easily. So my market's like a 2-hour drive, which is perfect because that's the max I can drive. I am not a big driver, but 2 hours is like the max I can do. And I know one day I drove 2 hours there to go to a meetup and view properties in the morning and go to a meetup at night. And then I drove 2 hours back late at night and it was raining each time I drove. And oh my God, it was the worst. But I was able to get it done. It's sometimes you just gotta buckle up literally and figuratively and just do the thing, right? So likability and feasibility. List a few markets that meet those criteria for you. Places that you already like to go, you have family and friends, and places that are kind of easy for you to get to, either driving or direct flights or, whatever that is, whatever that looks like. Another strategy to look at bigger criteria as a quick cheat tip to selecting a market is look for major headquarters, especially new headquarters that are opening up, because that means you are leveraging the dollars and research teams of big corporations, like let's say a Walmart or something. Like, where is the new headquarters for Walmart opening? They spend millions of dollars on research and development before they select a market. So if they're opening up a headquarters there, then that's the place that you should look at, right? Another thing is looking for at the average household income in those areas. You want it to at least be 50K, but between 75K and 100 would be preferable, and population growth. So if you can find some place that has all of those kind of criteria, is likable, feasible for you to get to, has a new headquarters, has population growth, has a decent household income, that's going to be like a really key place for you to focus and hone in on. And there's so many other metrics and indicators that you can look for, but will be doing market research forever, right? And that is the quickest way to analysis paralysis. So these are some quick tips to select a market quickly without making it a whole drawn out process. And hopefully that was helpful. And I'll see you in the next snippet.